Kemet lived in Thebes. It was a city of wonders. But Kemet's life was not. He was a scribe in the temple of Amun. He wrote all day, writing what the priests told him. Every day was, well, the same. Kemet dreamed of adventure. He read about great pharaohs who fought battles and explored faraway lands. Kemet longed for excitement. He wanted to leave his mark on the world. He didn't just want to write about history, he wanted to make it. One day, Kemet was copying hieroglyphs, but his heart wasn't in it. He snuck out of the temple and went to the marketplace. It was full of life. Merchants sold their wares, and people gossiped and laughed. It was a welcome change from the quiet temple. Kemet wandered through the crowd, listening to the sounds of the city. He bumped into a stranger. The man was old, with a long white beard. The man's eyes were full of secrets. "Be careful, young one," the old man said, his voice raspy. He looked at Kemet intensely. Kemet apologized and tried to move on, but the old man grabbed his arm. "The desert sands hold many secrets," the old man whispered. "Secrets of a forgotten pharaoh, a pharaoh named Neferkha. His tomb waits to be found." Kemet was skeptical. "A forgotten pharaoh?" The old man leaned closer. "His name has been erased from history, but his story deserves to be told. Find his tomb, young scribe, in the Valley of the Kings. Look for the jackal's shadow." The old man disappeared into the crowd. Kemet was torn. Was the old man crazy, or was he telling the truth? Kemet couldn't shake the feeling that this was his chance for adventure. Kemet decided to investigate. He went to the library and searched for any mention of Neferkha, but he found nothing. The pharaoh's name seemed to have been erased from every record. Kemet was more intrigued than ever. The next morning, Kemet set out for the Valley of the Kings. It was a desolate place. The air was hot and dry. The only shade came from the towering cliffs. The Valley of the Kings was the burial ground of many pharaohs. Their tombs were filled with treasures and guarded by curses. Kemet had heard the stories, but he never imagined he would be here himself. He searched for the jackal's shadow. The old man's clue was vague, but Kemet was determined. He spent days exploring the valley. He climbed over rocks and crawled through narrow passages. He started to lose hope. Just when he was about to give up, he saw it, a shadow in the shape of a jackal. It fell upon a hidden opening in the cliff face. This had to be the place. Kemet approached cautiously. He felt a cold breeze coming from the opening. He took a deep breath and entered the tomb. The air inside was stale and dusty. Kemet lit a torch. The walls were covered in hieroglyphs depicting scenes from the life of a pharaoh. Kemet recognized the cartouche. It read, Neferkha. The tomb was a maze of corridors and chambers. Kemet followed the passageways deeper into the earth. He saw treasures beyond his wildest dreams, golden statues and jewels that sparkled in the torchlight. But Kemet was drawn to something else. At the end of the tomb, he found a sarcophagus. It was huge and made of black obsidian. The lid was slightly ajar. Kemet felt a shiver run down his spine. He knew he shouldn't disturb the tomb, but curiosity got the better of him. He slowly pushed open the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus was empty. Kemet was confused. He looked around the chamber and noticed a faint glow coming from behind the sarcophagus. He moved closer and saw a hidden passageway. Kemet hesitated for a moment, then he entered the passage. It led to a small chamber. In the center of the chamber there was a pool of water, and standing in the pool was the ghostly figure of a man. He wore the royal headdress of a pharaoh. His eyes glowed with an eerie light. Kemet knew it was Neferkha. "Who dares disturb my rest?" Neferkha's voice boomed. It echoed through the chamber. Kemet was terrified, but he stood his ground. "My name is Kemet," he said. "I am a scribe." Neferkha's eyes narrowed. "A scribe? What do you seek here?" "I seek your story, Pharaoh," Kemet said. "Your name has been forgotten, but I want to remember you." Neferkha was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. His voice was filled with sadness. "My story is a tragic one," he said. "I was betrayed by my most trusted advisor. He usurped my throne. He erased my name from history. He cursed me to remain in this tomb, forgotten by the world." Neferkha told Kemet his tale. He spoke of his reign as pharaoh. He spoke of his advisor's treachery. He spoke of the curse that bound him to the tomb. Kemet listened intently. He felt sympathy for the forgotten pharaoh. He wanted to help. "The curse can only be broken," Neferkha said. "If my story is told, my name must be remembered. Will you help me, scribe?" Kemet knew this was a dangerous task, but he didn't hesitate. "I will," he said. Neferkha smiled sadly. "Be warned, scribe," he said. "My advisor's curse is powerful. It will try to stop you. You must be strong." Kemet felt a cold hand on his shoulder. He turned around. There was no one there, but he could feel the curse's presence. It was cold and menacing. Kemet left the tomb. As he made his way out of the Valley of the Kings, he felt the curse following him. It whispered doubts in his mind. It tried to make him forget Neferkha's story. Kemet pressed on. He had to break the curse. He had to restore Neferkha's name. He journeyed back to Thebes, the curse's presence growing stronger with each step he took. Back in Thebes, Kemet rushed to the temple. He grabbed a fresh papyrus scroll. He began to write down everything Neferkha had told him. The curse fought back. It tried to stop Kemet from writing. The air grew cold. The papyrus tried to tear itself apart, but Kemet was determined. He wrote through the pain and fear. He wrote until the entire story of Neferkha was down on paper. Just as he finished the last hieroglyph, a gust of wind swept through the temple. The curse was gone. Kemet collapsed, exhausted. He had broken the curse. He had fulfilled his promise to Neferkha. But his journey wasn't over. He had to tell the world about the lost pharaoh. He had to restore Neferkha's place in history. Kemet spent weeks traveling throughout Egypt. He shared Neferkha's story. He showed people the scroll he had written. At first, no one believed him. They thought he was crazy. But Kemet persisted. He told his story with such passion and conviction that people started to listen. Slowly, word spread. People began to remember Neferkha. They learned of his reign, his betrayal, and his unjust fate. They demanded that his name be restored. The priests of Amun, initially skeptical, were moved by Kemet's dedication. They launched an investigation. They found evidence of Neferkha's reign. They found evidence of his advisor's treachery. The pharaoh's name was cleared. His advisor's crimes were exposed. And Kemet, the once ordinary scribe, became a hero. He was celebrated for his courage, his determination, and his loyalty to the forgotten pharaoh. And so, the curse of the lost pharaoh was broken. Neferkha's name was restored to its rightful place in history. And Kemet, the young scribe who yearned for adventure, found his own place in the legends of Egypt. He had faced his fears. He had fought for what was right. And in doing so, he had made his mark on the world.